All right, y'all, I gotta come clean for a minute. I don't always keep plants alive. For example, this Japanese maple right here, she's dead, like really dead. But I have another one and we're gonna replace this one today. So let's take a look at it. So I got a Bloodgood, well, it was a Bloodgood Japanese maple. And this thing just never woke up after winter time. It's all crispy, crunchy, no green left under the bark. Side note, look how pretty this Tradescantia Sweet Kate is right here. But anyway, this Japanese maple, I'm gonna take it out of the ground right now and we're gonna replace it with this beautiful Japanese maple. So this is a lacy leaf variety called Tamukiyama. And from what I've heard, this is the most heat tolerant Japanese maple. And I don't wanna kill another. So I'm gonna try out this Tamukiyama. I've heard from some very reputable plant folks that this is the one for the South that can take the heat. All right, so step one is I'm gonna take my chainsaw and cut off most of this tree, but I'm gonna leave like this lower part here for me to get a good grip on, because I'm gonna see if I can just pull it straight up out of the ground so I have to do less digging. Gloves are wet and that feels uncomfortable. Don't knock my camera into the pond. Try not to hit the camera. Boy, this blade's getting dull. That, I don't know how it didn't hit the camera just then. That was pretty miraculous. The branches went like both sides of it. So I'm gonna try it. This may not work, but I'm gonna try to just like deadlift this thing out of the ground. But if that doesn't work, I'm gonna have to come back and dig it out, which is more time consuming. All right, here we go. Oh, that doesn't feel like it's gonna budge. Oh, nope. Whew, okay. Plan B, I gotta dig it out. And unfortunately, it's right in between these two Tradescantia. So, let's get the shovel. Now you might be thinking to yourself, wow, that guy's dumb if he thought he could just pull a big tree root straight out of the ground. And you would be right. But in my defense, it had only been in the ground for like a year, but it was alive last year, and so I guess it had time to root in. It's one of my watering lines to it there. Anyway, I'm gonna clear out all of this mulch from around it, and then we'll see what we're working with here. I don't wanna break that. My drip irrigation lines. There's a little tiny Tradescantia here also. I'm gonna see where that goes and pop it out. Maybe I can save it. All right, enough dilly-dallying. Let's get to digging. All right. Oh boy. Surely it'll come out now. And don't call me Shirley. There we go. All right, the old is out. Now you can see there's some water down in the hole, but I don't think that was the issue with the old tree because, well, it's usually a lot drier around here. I'm not out of breath, you're out of breath. But anyway, we had about 4 inches of rain day before yesterday, so it's pretty soggy right now, but I'm gonna plant the next one a little bit higher so that way it'll have good drainage just in case we do get some extended wet periods of time. So let me go grab that other one and then we'll start figuring out how to position it in the new hole. Okay, I wanted to show you from a little bit different angle. So the tree's gonna go right there where the shovel is. And now the previous tree was an upright tree. This one is a weeping Japanese maple, and actually the branches go down lower than the root ball, the way it is right now. So I'm gonna try to position those branches where they kind of flow down around this big rock on either side. And that I think is gonna look really cool. So I'm just gonna have to get it out of its box and then work it into position. So you can see the top of the root ball is here, but these branches extend like a foot below it, which is really cool. Now, I'm gonna try to save this box, by lifting the tree out of it. But if I feel too much resistance when I go to lift on this, I definitely don't wanna break roots or damage this tree. I'll just have to end up breaking this box apart to get it out of there. But sometimes they'll just slip out nice and easy. So we'll try that first. I'm gonna start by just placing it on the ground here. And then I don't recommend grabbing a tree by the trunk to pull it out of the pot, but sometimes I don't follow my own rules. Okay. Yeah. Try one more time. I just don't want to damage this tree. So I'll be more than glad to take this box apart if it doesn't slip out of here. Yeah. Let's take this box apart. Okay, it's kind of a nice box. That's the only reason I was thinking about doing that. But obviously, if we're gonna hurt the tree is more valuable than the box. So let's go ahead and take this box apart and forget about the box. All right, so the roots look pretty good. I'm gonna loosen them just a little, check for any like circling roots, and not try to break the roots, but just loosen them. And then the other thing I wanna do is find the root flare. You can't see the root flare here, so I'm gonna knock this excess mulch off, and we're gonna go digging until we find the root flare to ensure that we're not planting this thing too deep. And I'm also gonna cut off this bamboo stake. You can see this stretch tape is starting to girdle, so we're gonna get rid of all that and the stake and find the root flare and then get this baby planted. Well, that thing was pretty deep down in the soil. Stand by. Let me get to work with this two hands here. Ooh, okay, I found it. That was not easy. So this was buried way too deep in that nursery pot. You can see where the soil and mulch level was, and that was about 3 to 4 inches above the root flare. So the root flare is here, where you see it kind of widen out. You see these first surface roots. And that's pretty common in a lot of nursery stock, because they'll repot these things and they're in a hurry and they just pile in dirt on here. And then over the years, to keep them from drying out, they pile mulch on top. The mulch decomposes, it makes kind of like a mulch volcano around the trunk. And eventually it kind of builds up and up and up as these things spend years in a nursery if they're not careful. So this is one of those cases where it was way too deep in there, and long term this tree could have suffered because there were some circling roots here that I had to break up. You'll see that a lot when there's a big thick layer of mulch up against the trunk. It'll send up these feeder roots into that rich, moist soil at the surface. And over time, as they get thicker, they could cause girdling problems on this tree. So we got that cleaned up, and we're ready to backfill our hole over there, because now this root ball is not that thick anymore, and the hole that I've got is quite a lot deeper than that. So I'm gonna backfill with some soil underneath the root ball, and we'll get this thing placed in. All right, so what I'm doing now is I've got my potting mix, and I've poured it down in the bottom of this hole, because remember it was like a soggy mess down there. And I am stepping in it, tamping it down to make sure that this tree is above all that soggy mess and it's not gonna have any root rot issues or anything. Remember I said I was gonna plant it slightly high just to make sure that it's got great drainage and is not gonna,
be too low down in that hole. So almost done here, and then we're just gonna drop it in. What you're gonna see me do now is set it in here, and then I'm probably gonna have to spend a minute rotating it different ways to see which way I want the branches to be facing and making sure that it's all straight. It weighs nothing now that I've taken so much soil off the top of it. Oh, shut up, Blue Jays. They're so noisy. Anyway, so I may have backfilled the hole a little too much, or I might just need to cut it a little deeper on those sides because it's sitting a little higher, just a couple inches higher than what I want. So we'll try that again. Okay, I had to pause the project because I had to go pick up kids from practice, but we are back. I dug the hole a little bit deeper. The sun is shining in here now. It's closer to evening, and I've got it at the level I want it to be. It's hard to see in there. And then I've got it rotated to the position that I want. It was hard because these branches are so long and low, trying to figure out which way to rotate it. Let me go to the other side and I'll show you what this looks like. So I'm gonna use that potting soil and some of that extra dirt to backfill around it. But I wanted to show you, I got that branch coming alongside this rock here. I'll do a little bit of pruning on it. And over here on this side, see the evening sun kind of shining through it. That's what it looks like there. I think it's gonna be really cool as it gets bigger and kind of cascades over this way. So now all I gotta do is backfill around it and we're done. All right, it's all backfilled now. I did take some of that mulch that was in the pot and covered up those surface roots just so they won't dry out so fast. But you can still see where that tree widens out to the root flare there. So I did not bury it too deep. And let's take a better look at what this tree looks like in the landscape now. So here's this view of it. Now I may end up, pruning some of those branches away from the Tradescantia to kind of let it peek through, but I'll do that over the course of the next few days. Here's another angle of it here, kind of draping around that rock. And one more here. I think it looks really good, and I can't wait to see as this thing gets bigger and fuller, and we do a little selective pruning on it. I think it's gonna be a really awesome addition to the pond area.